All right, so we're going to do the Unit 1 readiness check here, and the directions here call it a pre-assessment, and we might be doing this a few times this year in which we will be doing some work ahead of the unit that both reviews some things that you should or may have been taught before, and also previews some things that are new in the unit, so that when you hit those during the unit that they are just a little bit familiar to you. It says to spend no more than 30 minutes on this assessment, try every problem, show your thinking on each problem. I'm more interested in your thinking than the answers. Circle the one or two problems that are the most challenging for you. I'm going to do this a little bit differently this unit. I'm actually going to work this through with you, and then I'd like you at the end to maybe come back and do the little circling reflection on what you think would have been the most challenging problems after listening to them. So just something where I'm going to change things up right now. So number 1 says Andre is collecting data on the length and minutes of some films. This is a histogram summarizing his data. All right, so a histogram is this graph over here. It looks like a bar graph, and it is a type of bar graph in a way. A histogram, though, always has intervals of numbers along the x-axis. Remember, this is our x-axis, the horizontal side-to-side x-axis. And then it always has frequency over on the y-axis. All right, so frequency basically is just tallying up how many times something happens. So let's look at the first question. How many films are in Andre's data set? So what this is telling us in this first bin here, these are called bins, by the way. In a histogram, a bar is a bin. And so it's telling us that there are 10, the frequency is 10, of anything that fits into this interval category. So there's 10 films in this case that are between 60 and 80 minutes. Now, technically, it's 60 to 79 minutes because 80 actually will get counted on the next one. So just keep that in mind. So there's 10 of those that fall between 60 and, say, 79. There is another 20 films that fall between 80 and 99. There is 25 films that fall between 100 and 119. There are 20 more films between 120 and 139, and then 10 films between 140 and 159. So if we tally up all of these frequencies, we're going to get the total number of films that are in Andre's data set. So you can go ahead and add those together. We get 60 plus 25 would be 85. So again, we're adding these up to get that total there. All right, describe the shape of the distribution. So there's some terminology that we're going to talk about in this unit that is going to describe data and describe visually what's happening here. And we'll have a number of different descriptors, things like skewed left, skewed right, symmetric, bimodal, uniform. These are all terms that you're going to eventually hear in the unit. Now, this one is what we call symmetric. And that's a term that might be a little bit familiar to you because symmetric is kind of like it's a mirror image. If you divide it right down the middle, you have one half that looks the same as the other half. So that's what this one is right here. If we divide it right down the middle, we see that we essentially have the same thing on both sides. So that's called symmetric.